Hey guys, Sam here, and welcome to another review. This time it's taking place in November, aka No Nut November. But honestly, it should be called Non-Stop Nut November. Like, seriously, that should have been the one that took off. Because if it was that, and you were celebrating that, that means you would actually have an excuse to jerk off. Seriously, try that. Okay, really, don't. Or do. Whatever you do, that's up to you. But anyway, that's not what I'm talking about today. I'm talking about a certain short that revolves around one holiday that's coming up soon, Thanksgiving. The time of year where we say how much we are thankful for our friends, family, possessions, the places we live in, etc. And I know that some people do ignore Thanksgiving, don't really celebrate it too much, and focus more on Christmas. And you know what? If you like Christmas more, then that's totally fine, but you should not really forget Thanksgiving entirely, because it's still an important holiday. And while its origins are a bit dicey, centuries later, we have made it into a very nice, happy, and important holiday, even if it does get bogged down by politics. But anyway, the short that I'm talking about that revolves around Thanksgiving is one that I'm sure you guys have watched a lot when you were kids and when you became adults. It's one short from a cartoon that you know all too well, Tom and Jerry. And yes, I do love Tom and Jerry. I love the slapstick, I love the comedic timing, I love the animation. It's definitely a landmark. I love Tom and Jerry. And I'm just going to take a wild guess and say that you definitely know this short pretty well, like you know the other shorts. And that short is The Little Orphan. Some people may not know, but this one does have some of the most memorable slapstick moments in Tom and Jerry history. So, what are my thoughts on it? Well, let's go ahead and get started. And before we get into it, I'll just let you know what you're going to see if this is your first time watching a review from mine. You're going to see me give a quick summary of it first, and then my final thoughts afterwards. We good? Okay, let's begin. In this short, Jerry is supposed to be taking care of Nibbles, his nephew, this Thanksgiving. And fun fact, this is actually his second appearance in Tom and Jerry history. He's given a letter by an association that says that he's supposed to take care of him on Thanksgiving. You promised to do this. And they left him on his doorstep with a letter, and also at the very bottom it says, oh, by the way, he's very hungry. So Jerry, trying to be a responsible adult, goes to the cupboards to look for food, but he can't find anything. So he has to try and steal some food for Nibbles discreetly. So he takes Nibbles out of his home and tries to steal some milk out of Tom's cat bowl. But they almost get caught because Nibbles decided, you know what, I'm gonna slurp this whole entire thing down. But luckily, Tom doesn't catch them and goes back to sleep. Oh, and fun fact, slurping is illegal in New Jersey. No, seriously, I'm not kidding. Look it up. Apparently, it's illegal to slurp your soup in New Jersey. In fact, I was told over and over by my relatives to
Hey, don't you be slurping your food like that. Do you want to go to prison?
And of course, I would try my best not to slurp because, hey, when you're 7 years old, you don't want to go to prison. So, yeah, but anyway, back to the short. So they do get lucky and take some milk, but Jerry and Nibbles come across a table that's filled with Thanksgiving meals. Turkey, peas, everything you could imagine that's on this table. So they decide to have a little fun and eat as much as they can, even dressing up as pilgrims. But Nibbles gets a little too carried away with eating. How carried away? Well, he tries to eat an entire orange in one bite. What the? Kid, do you not know how short you are? Do you want to die? Thankfully, Jerry gets the orange out of his mouth, but unfortunately it flies across the room and lands in Tom's mouth, waking him up. And of course, this leads to the most memorable part of this short, where Jerry and Nibbles, dressed up as pilgrims, are going up against Tom, who uses a feather duster to look like a Native American. And from there, it's just funny slapstick. When Tom tries to kill Nibbles, Jerry saves his life. When Tom tries to kill Jerry, Nibbles ends up saving his life. And it continues on back and forth until eventually, Tom ends up crashing into a cupboard filled with dishes. And so, trying to keep his dignity, he holds up the white flag of surrender. And the short ends with all three of them saying grace at the Thanksgiving dinner table before Nibbles eats the entire turkey in one go. The end. So that's Little Orphan. What are my thoughts? Well, it's definitely a fun short, and I can definitely understand why it's one of the more popular shorts in Tom and Jerry's history. It's funny, the slapstick is on point, the animation as a whole is really good, and some of the facial expressions and the yelps from the main characters are still pretty funny. In fact, probably my favorite moment has got to come here. I just love it. He's so happy. He thinks he's won. And then, whoop, there goes a pie in the face. And now, I get that some people may find it insensitive for, him going like, la, 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 that. But when I was a kid and I watched that, I found that to be absolutely hilarious, especially when he did get the pie in the face. It's like, yeah, there you go. There's your karma. So yeah, it definitely is a fun short. But before I give you my final score, I do have to talk about something that is controversial about this short. So here's a quick disclaimer. There is going to be some controversial stuff that's being discussed. So fair warning before you see it, okay? Alright, let's go ahead and talk about it. Now, this short has gotten in trouble for using one thing that has now been frowned upon in society, and that is blackface. And has led to this short being censored in a lot of places. Where does the blackface come from? Well, there's a scene where Nibbles is still defending Jerry by launching a candle that's lit at Tom. It flies across the table, lands on Tom's tail, and pretty much burns him to a crisp. And the only thing that's left is him looking all brown with whatever is left on his head. So, yeah, when you look at it, yeah, it does look really, really bad. And I'm not surprised it's censored in a lot of places. And I don't know if it was done on purpose or it was done as an accident, because this short did come out in the late 40s. And this was, when Mammy Two Shoes was still around, and, she's also been brought up, a lot in controversy with this, with the series. But honestly, I look at it, and yeah, it does look bad, but I also see that maybe there could have been an alternative way out of this. Like, maybe they didn't have to do that. Like, here's what I would have done as an animator or a director or whatever. Instead of having, Tom be burned up to a crisp like that, instead, just have the candle land on his tail, have him in pain, and then just have him, go right up to the ceiling yelling in pain. Kind of like in the same way when he had the fork shoved up his ass. Like, that could have been done. Or, I don't know, maybe some of the people that were working on it were like, hey, we already did that with, the fork thing. We didn't want to, do a repeat or something like that. I don't know. Again, I don't really know what the intention was, but again, it just looks really bad. But the most important thing about it is that it should be discussed, and it should be a clear example why you should not use that in animation. I don't care when it came out, whether it's 40s or 50s, whatever decade, don't do it. Just don't. But yeah, despite that controversy, I still do enjoy this short. It's still funny, it's still well animated, and again, it's one of the more popular shorts in Tom and Jerry's history, and I could definitely see why. And it definitely is a fun short to watch during Thanksgiving. So yeah, I definitely do enjoy it, and if I had to give it a final score, I would have to give it an 8 out of 10. I would say 9, but the blackface does bring it down to an 8. So, but yeah, I still recommend you watch it, mainly just to get some good laughs, some good animation, and good slapstick. Not for that thing, you know what I mean. So yeah, that's pretty much my review on Tom and Jerry's The Little Orphan. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, give it a like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, my name is Sam, and good night, everybody.